Hi, Marty.
Hi, Jean. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I think you have an important question. I think it's a recurring question. People always don't have, I think, certain clarity on it. So please go ahead and.
I've realized with your teaching that we seem to be quite a ways away from what the parish usually offers us, and it'd be maybe good to know if there's a delineation between what the parish is supposed to offer, what we're supposed to look for elsewhere in terms of spiritual formation, if priests are supposed to be able to organize and give everything that a person needs in their whole journey of growth, or if they're there more for the beginning part of it. Or anyway, I've heard you say several things about this over the last year, so maybe it'd be good to clarify for people how you see this.
Yes. Thank you, Marty. You are voicing, in fact, you can't imagine the existence of this issue, how spread it is, and how unfortunately very common in the mind of people. No, and let me explain first one point so we can start to clarify a bit the ground. Very often when people, I would say, knock on the door at the School of Mary, or need some spiritual formation, some guidance, spiritual direction, and so forth, they come to the school, they want it, but then instinctively their thoughts go to their own parish, and they would like to have the same offer that they find in the School of Mary or in other religious orders, for instance, say the Carmelites or Franciscans or other orders, or charismatic renewal. They want to have the same offer in their own parish. Sometimes it does exist, but these are exceptions. Usually they don't exist, and people sort of start to nag and ask the parish priest, can't we have this, can't we have that, etc. So what I would say is that we have an understanding, an instinctive, unconscious premise, by thinking that the parish is the only aspect of the church, or only place that we can live in our entire life. And it is true that the parish can give this impression, because simply we are baptized in the parish. If we marry, we marry, of course, in the parish. We have our children baptized and so forth, and then after hopefully a long life, we die and we are buried, and the funeral occurs in the parish. So it seems to reinforce the fact that the parish is the beginning and the end of our life. But this is a bit too short. It is true that the parish will bury us, so to speak, but we need to understand that the church is not only the parish, and priesthood is not only the parish priesthood, and the services and the pastoral in the church of spiritual life is slightly different from what we think. So I will base my reflection on essentially one aspect, which is the second conversion, or the call to follow Christ in a more committed way. And I will consider that our life as Christians does exist before that call and after that call. So I will clarify first this notion, and then proceed. So when the young rich man, I wrote an article, and you will have under this video 2 articles, actually, 2 links, so please don't hesitate to read it. But I think a video is much better, because a video is more alive, and you can see and understand what we are saying. So when the rich young man talks to, says to the Lord, what shall I do in order to find eternal life, or etc. The Lord doesn't start immediately by saying, leave everything and follow me. And I think that we need to enter in this type of answer. The Lord didn't start by saying, I'm calling you, come and follow me. No, he asked him first, have you fulfilled the commandments? And he's alluding to Moses' commandments, the 10 commandments, and so forth. And the man said, yes, I have done that since my youth. In the version of St. Mark, Jesus looks at him and loves him. And this is a new start. As Christians, we need to understand these two different moments in our life. They cannot be measured by time. You cannot say, well, automatically everybody will have at a certain age to move on from one stage to the other. When we enter adulthood, therefore we will be then in the other stage. No. You can wait 60 years before meeting Jesus. You can meet Jesus at the age of 15 or 16 or even before. We do not control that fully. I will allude to certain elements that are important that could hasten a little bit this meeting Jesus, but still it's not fully in our hands. So a bit of flexibility here is important. You can find a person who is 70, 80 years old and is still in never had a personal call from Jesus, never met, I would say, quote unquote, personally Jesus, and started a new journey. But you have people who undergo what we call the second conversion. Why do we call it second? Because the first conversion is to become Christian. So they are Christian. You see, that's the point. You have Christians and they need food, they need formation, they need a life. Then, after a certain point, we'll talk a little bit about this, they are enabled to hear Jesus' call, to follow him from close. Not just the general following of God, following of Christianity, belonging to the church and so forth. No, that's too general. It is needed, but it's general. I'm talking about something like on a personal relationship with Jesus. So we need to understand that we have these two states possible. Now, in my humble view, when we study ecclesiology is the science, the theological science that studies the church, the structure of the church, how the church works, and so forth. When we usually study the ecclesiology of the church, even today, after Vatican Council, we are still not very clear about this point, this second conversion. We know that everybody is called to holiness, but mentioning that everybody is called to holiness seems to shortcut a little bit the issue of the call itself. A call is a call. A call occurs in time. It happens at a certain moment in our life. We don't control it. So there is a general notion of knowing that everybody is called to holiness. But now when you go into the practical level, to the reality, to the life, the real life, this call will enter in the life of a person only at a certain point. So we need to be careful about that. And I wrote about this. You can check on the website, the articles and call to holiness, and under call, there are some articles. One of them is even called A Call is a Call, which means you need to hear the call. It's not just intellectual or theoretical statement or just blossoming from baptism automatically. No, it doesn't blossom automatically from baptism. It needs a first stage, which is the first stage that Jesus underlined when he talked to the rich man. Have you observed the commandments? So let me now get into, I would say, the nitty-gritty of the issue. Our normal, I would say, ecclesiology is to put everything in the parish, while in fact the parish has a specific mission, which is the initial formation. The mission to evangelize people, to bring them to Christ. This is a huge mission, which means that all the people who live in the area of the parish who are not yet Christians or Catholic or coming to the church on Sunday and so forth, all these are the object of this mission. We need to work on that. We forget this sometimes. We say, okay, we have a parish here, so we have a parish here. You know, the entire world is divided in parishes, dioceses and parishes, and so we think that the parish is here, people will come, whoever wants to come. No, it's our duty also to go. So this is part of the parish duty. We have this mission to go and bring people in, make them be transparent to Jesus, and also bring them in. Now, people who are inside of the parish, they need formation, catechesis. You cannot just say, okay, people come to parish and without the catechesis. Catechesis is taking the youngsters and forming them into spiritual life, into Christian life, but also adult formation. We forget the adult formation a lot. Without adult formation, you won't hasten the hearing of Jesus' call. Why? Because there is a job that should be done before. Adult formation, you ask me, where can I find what is adult formation? Simply go by a Catechism of the Catholic Church, open it, and all the contents of this catechism is the adult formation. You have 4 sections: the creed, the sacraments, the commandments, and spiritual life. It's not spiritual life in general, it's just prayer life. It's the beginning of the journey. This understanding of Christian life existed from the beginning. You have the first fathers of the church who commented and prepared people, who offered, the catechesis, who prepared people for baptism, right before baptism and after baptism. We have the witness of this, and it's always these 4 columns. Creed, explaining the creed, transmitting the creed. They need to learn it by heart and so forth. Explaining at least the first 3 sacraments, the sacraments of the initiation, baptism, confirmation, and Eucharist, because in the beginning we used to have them, the 3 of them together. This is how we become Christian. Then you have the 10 commandments, the commandments, who become also the 2 commandments under in the gospel, how Jesus presents them. And then finally, the Our Father. You see, this is fundamental. And a knowledge, a childhood knowledge of these is not enough. You have adults, we send our children to universities and they learn a lot of things, but at the level of understanding adult formation, it's still very lukewarm, I would say, if not sometimes even non-existent. You have here and there the course in Bible, etc. Parish priests, bless them, they try all their best, but very often in many places in the church, people don't think that they need anything, so maybe they don't come. You have various initiatives, etc., but I think it could be even more organized, more structured in all parishes. This makes then the parish much more fervent, and then enables people to be more capable of hearing Jesus' call. So in a way, the first and essential mission of the parish is twofold: bringing people in and then forming people, giving the foundations. Now, is this everything about Christian life? I'm afraid this is only the beginning. So people who are convinced that this is everything about Christian life, we run our parish life and we have to go to mass and we have to take part of the parish life, that's fabulous. We are very fervent into that. That's fabulous, but this is only the beginning. Only the beginning. Now we hear at a certain point, as I said, we don't control it, but at least we can prepare ourselves by doing all this work. We prepare ourselves to hear Jesus' call. Now, when Jesus' call happens, is the parish the place that offers the spiritual formation, which people, when they knock at the door of the School of Mary or any other places, or the religious orders like Carmelites and so forth, and they say, okay, we'd like to have this food in the parish. No. There are places after the parish where people can find their food. They want to stay in their parish, that's fine. But spiritually, inside of themselves, they moved on. This is not, we need to understand that. A parish priest is formed, prepared today to offer catechesis. He has the sacraments to offer. He has the catechesis of the youngsters and the adults. He has the baptisms, marriages and funerals, and he has to run the parish. Please don't ask the parish priest to do more. That's already a lot for one man. One or two or three if they are together. That's a lot. Okay? So now, is the parish priest prepared to offer a spiritual formation after Jesus' call? Well, simply no. He's not. Because he's formed to do something else. You can't ask an engineer in electronics to work in building roads or bridges. It's two different things. Does this diminish the importance of the parish priest? Of course not. Does this diminish the importance of the Mass or the sacrament? Of course not. On the contrary. But we need to understand that there is a new need that emerges from this call, and this new need has an area in the church, maybe less known, less developed, but it's still there, which is supposed to give us a spiritual formation. Doctrine, spiritual formation, spiritual tutoring, and spiritual direction. You can't ask a parish priest to do all this, but because he's already doing something else, you see. Now, we have and we should have even more people specialized to offer this spiritual formation, tutoring, spiritual direction, and so forth. We have a spiritual doctrine in the church. It is much deeper than the fourth part of the catechism. I just mentioned earlier on that the foundation of the Christian life has four different columns. The fourth one is the Our Father prayer. But this is just the beginning. This will help people just to cope until they hear this Jesus call. But then after that, you have proper spiritual life, proper spiritual formation. Why? Because you entered in a personal relationship with Christ, and therefore you need a different pastoral, different people who will serve you, a deeper doctrine, which you can't find in the parish. Simple. So we need to understand that we have two main structures in the church. We have what I would call the parish, and we have what I would call the desert. Why am I using the desert? Because I think of the father of all monks, St. Anthony the Great. He was a normal parishioner, certainly a fervent person. He enters one day in the church. He was ready. In hindsight, now we can say he was ready. And the gospel was the gospel of the young man, the young rich man. And he heard it himself, like, leave everything, go and sell everything, and come and follow me. Now, just to clarify a point, many people say, but we're not called to become religious. We are not called to become monks. We are not called to leave everything, our family and so forth, and follow Jesus. That was until more or less Council Vatican II, no? The Vatican Council. But now the Vatican Council said everybody is called to holiness. So this means that when you hear this call, if you are married, if you're single, if you are, I don't know, even religious, we can talk about this another day, and priests and parish priests. If you hear a deeper call, you should, of course, have heard it before if you are a priest or religious or not. If you hear that, you move on, in fact, like St. Anthony, from your parish to the desert, and deeper and deeper and deeper in the desert. So Anthony leaves everything. He sells everything, gives the money to support his sister. He had a sister, and then he ventures in the desert step by step and enters deeper. Why? What is he doing? He's seeking God. What is he doing? He's seeking the union with God, union with Jesus, and he goes step by step. Now, this, in my eyes, of course, the story is written, the life of St. Anthony is written by St. Athanasius. You can read it. It's available online for free, I think. This life tells us the other part, the other area And from that will blossom monastic life. From monastic life will blossom the spiritual masters, and so forth. So we need to understand that without necessarily leaving our place, leaving our state of life, we can follow Jesus from close. Many people, millions today, hear this call, but as I said, I come back to your question, we sort of think that the parish should offer us all the food we need. No, we need a new food, we need a deeper food, and we need to talk to people, knock at the door of places that are supposed to help us. In past times, just to complete a little bit this presentation, in the past centuries, we leaned a lot, the church leaned a lot on the what we used to call the third orders, which is the secular orders, Dominicans, Carmelites, Benedictines, and so forth. They all had what we call a secular order, which means lay people who maintain their state of life, but who are like, who become then part of their this spiritual family, and then they have their preparation, the novitiate, and so forth, but they stay as lay people. So the solution was this solution. But I think that in the future, we will need to have a more structured desert offered to everybody with a solid doctrine, like we have a catechism of the Catholic Church for the catechesis, and I think we will need another catechism or something more mystagogical one day, which will offer for everybody, not for this or that religious order or this or that spiritual family, as we are still doing today, like dispatching people to different places. No, I think we will need to have a common trunk or a common denominator of spiritual doctrine offered to everybody. Then after, people can choose where they feel called, if they want, but otherwise they can stay there. But in the same time, you need that doctrine to be more developed. Then we will even become more aware of this second side of the church, and also we will need people trained and prepared. We do that in the School of Mary. We offer a training for spiritual formators, and therefore we will be able to manage more seriously, more professionally, this help for people to reach holiness. Now, just to close this, I would say it is absolutely possible to reread the interior castle of Teresa of Avila, the interior castle, and you can see pictures, one of the pictures on the website of this article that you will find underneath, which is the Epiphany of the Church of the Desert. We can consider that the first three mentions of Teresa of Avila, you can include a mention 0, which is people we still need to invite and call in out of evangelization. So we have from mention 0 to 3 included. This would be the work in the parish, and then it opens and blossoms through the call from mention 4 till 7, and even a more developed 7 later on. So here you are. This is, I think, the answer or clarification for, I would say, this sort of unconscious ecclesiology, which centers everything around the parish and centers everything about around the parish priest, which that's not correct. The parish priest has an immense work to do, a fundamental work to do, especially the missionary one and the catechetical one for adults. Once this job is done well, he can consider that he's done his mission and prepared people to hear Jesus' call. So just to conclude, to think that the fact that everybody is called to holiness because he or she is baptized, that's too short. A call is a call, and a call means I need to be prepared to hear this call, and I need to know after then where to go in order to live and grow in this call. I don't know if does this help a little bit to shed some clarity on this issue, because it's very common. I don't know what you think about this, Matti.
Yes, absolutely. From what I understood is that you know, if you talk again about the food, is that the parish gives you a food for the first stage, and you need to go and find your, say, your spiritual food somewhere else in
Yeah,
terms of spiritual formation
yeah,
afterwards.
yeah,
And that this can be done even if you're married and have kids, or single, or
yeah,
that we don't
absolutely.
have to necessarily join an order, or that they should be able to do more on a universal base. Let's just say that it's not,
Correct.
because I'm
Yes.
sure a lot of people don't even maybe feel that call and don't even know that you can go as a tertiary to an order, or don't feel any special relationship with a certain order, but yet the food is there universally, you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yes. And people, oh, after that, people ask me, well, then there is no then spirit. What about spiritual life for parishioners? I said, of course, there is a spiritual life for parishioners. This is the fourth part of the catechism. The fourth part is laying the foundations. It's offering us the Our Father. But of course, if you compare this teaching of the fourth part with what Teresa of Avila teaches, the depth of the teaching, of course, this is only a starting point. It's an honorable, respectable, needed first part, but that's not all spiritual life. People who think that all the spiritual doctrine of the church is included in the fourth part of the catechism, no, that would be deeply wrong. The church is immensely much more rich than that. Just have a look at John of the Cross or Teresa of Avila. So there is a spiritual life in the parish. Yeah, sorry?
No, it's a typical thing. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, so if you don't know that you're supposed to be expecting a call, and you don't know that you need to prepare for that,
Yeah.
already that is a, initial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
So
thank you very much.
you're most welcome. So I hope just people will sort of not put too much pressure on the parish, or think or overestimate what the parish is supposed to give. The parish is perfect as it is structured, and the parish priests have enough to do. Formation they had, enough to do, and enough to give. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very
God
much.
bless you. If you have any questions, please drop under the video your questions, objections, but please first read the article, the 3 articles you'll find under the video. Please, I beg you. Thank you.